Chapter 3473. Looking at the center of the totem, the rays from the vast stars became more and more radiant. Yiqing Luo didn't think too deeply about the reason why Dmo Xian was happy. She looked at the brothers who were guarding by her side as her lips curled into a smile. We're about to leave, take good care of yourselves and cultivate well. Remember our 3 months appointment. Everyone's eyes turned red, but they forced a smile as they pretended to be cool and waved their hands. What's there for us to worry about here? With your reputation and the Overlord's reputation, who dares to bully us? Rest assured and go to the upper realm with the Overlord. The one who should take care of yourself is you. Yan Xiaoyi looked at Yiqing Luo. Although the Overlord is accompanying you, but after all, there's always a contingency. The Overlord can't take care of you all the time. Yiqing Luo patted her shoulder and looked at Xiao Jin, who was behind her. Jin Zi, I'll leave Xiao Yi to you. Xiao Jin's eyes drooped. He had an ordinary face, but that pair of eyes was dazzling and dazzling. In his eyes, there was no way to conceal the tenderness towards Yan Xiaoyi. He stretched out his hand and embraced Yan Xiaoyi as he smiled. I will. 3 months later, I will let you step on the path to the upper realm without any worries, and not let your family have a chance to harass you. Yiqing Luo met Xiao Jin's eyes as she solemnly made a promise. Xiao Jin was slightly stunned. As though he had not expected Yiqing Luo to be able to see through his thoughts. Suddenly, Xiao Jin understood why Yiqing Luo set a time limit of 3 months. Not only to give the brothers sufficient time to cultivate, to have a cultivation target. More importantly, it was to ensure the safety of all the brothers after they reached the upper realm. This young lady, she was obviously not even 16 years old. But she was so meticulous that she had taken into consideration everyone. I believe you. The smile on Xiao Jin's face became gentler. His tone was sonorous and firm, unwavering. Yiqing Luo smiled. Her vision suddenly shifted towards the crowd, towards the young man who had maintained a calm and indifferent expression from the start. The smile on her lips became even more radiant. Ah Jean. The youth's azure blue eyes flickered as he looked up at her. Yiqing Luo walked over and patted his shoulder with a face full of smiles. Your devil class's class monitor, the world group's group leader, the brothers are all in your hands. Long Yunjian pursed his lips, and the light in his eyes flickered, as if he wanted to say something. However, the words were on the tip of his tongue. But he swallowed it back into his stomach. Yiqing Luo's smile gradually deepened as she suddenly stretched out her hand and wrapped it around his shoulder, giving him a hug. Long Yunjian seemed as though he hadn't expected Yiqing Luo to make such a move. His body immediately stiffened. His nostrils were filled with the fragrance of a young girl. This caused his expressionless face to be covered with a trace of warmth. His heart was beating like thunder. His mind instantly went blank. Ah Jean, I know that you want to go to the upper realm with me. Not only is my background there, it's also yours. But, it's not safe for you to follow them to the upper realm now. How would Yiqing Luo not be able to tell what Long Yunjian was thinking about? She explained, the goo poison in your body is from the upper realm. As for your memories as a human dragon, whether it was intentionally erased by someone or you naturally lost your memories, we have no way of knowing. The only thing we can be sure of is that the goo poison in your body was intentionally done by someone. Chapter 3474. In the Nirvana realm, Long Yunjian could live a good life as a human. Even if Gue Wu and the rest knew that something was wrong with Long Yunjian's aura, he would not expose her either. For him, this was the safest place. But in the upper realm, there were many experts and their strength was unpredictable. If they found out that Long Yunjian was a human dragon, he wanted to form a contract with Long Yunjian. Or they could expose Long Yunjian's identity and lure out the person who used the goo on Long Yunjian back then. They did not have enough assurance to protect Long Yunjian, so the loss outweighed the gain. Long Yunjian's body stiffened, not knowing if he had heard Yiqing Luo's explanation. His azure blue eyes were still wide open in a daze. Yiqing Luo patted his back and immediately got up. His gaze went past Long Yunjian and landed on Tong Ziqing, who was not far away. She reached out to Tong Ziqing. Tong Ziqing pursed her lips and walked towards her. At this moment, Long Yunjian seemed to have suddenly returned to his senses and looked at Tong Ziqing. Yiqing Luo saw the flash of fluster in his eyes and took it all in. "TSK, there seems to be a situation." Yiqing Luo's brows curved into a teasing arc. She stepped forward and wrapped her arms around Tong Ziqing's body. While the two of them were hugging, Yiqing Luo patted her back. "Ziqing, if Ajan feels uncomfortable anywhere, bring him to the Miaogu family. With Yi around, he will be fine." Tong Ziqing nodded. Yes. It was a light word, but it made the tip of his nose feel like a valve. A guy with a cold face but a warm heart. He was obviously very worried about her. But the expression on his face was still so cold. Yiqing Luo held back her laughter as she rested her chin on her shoulder. Just as he was about to say something, suddenly, from the corner of his eyes, he saw a person in the crowd who had been staring at him with cold eyes. He was slightly startled. Yiqing Luo was no stranger to that person. They were students from the class of gods. That Si Minghan who fell in love with Tong Ziqing at first sight, but because of the battle with Long Yunjian, the goo poison in Long Yunjian's body acted up and he fell into a coma. She didn't expect that he would also join the world group. He had also arrived at the East Wave continent. Was it because of Ziqing? Yiqing Luo shot a glance at Long Yunjian, who was standing stiffly by the side. The smile at the corner of his mouth added a bit of mischievousness. It seemed that after she left, there was going to be a good show here. Who knew who would be the winner of this show 3 months later? As though he had sensed Yiqing Luo's line of sight, Si Minghan frowned and looked at her. A hint of displeasure appeared on his handsome face. That gaze seemed to be warning Yiqing Luo to quickly let go of Tong Ziqing. He. This was his girl, and he had the nerve to stare at her? A crafty smile surfaced in Yiqing Luo's eyes as she tilted her head slightly to avoid Si Minghan's gaze. She lowered her voice and said, "My lady, I hope to hear good news from you 3 months later." Tong Ziqing was stunned, but when she heard Yiqing Luo's sinister laughter, she suddenly understood the meaning behind her words. Tong Ziqing looked down and sighed, "I'm afraid I'll have to disappoint you. Whether there's good news or not, it's up to you." Yiqing Luo's vision turned towards Si Minghan's direction as she took a look. "He's here because of you." Tong Ziqing knew who Yiqing Luo was referring to. She pursed her lips as there was a momentary daze in her eyes. "Qing Luo, should I really take a look at the people around me? Paying attention to one person for too long would eventually become tiring." Chapter 3475. So, do I really have to give up? Tong Ziqing's voice was very low, almost as if she was murmuring. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards as her voice was gentle. "You have the courage to love him for so many years. Why don't you have the courage to fight for your own happiness? You've been in love for so many years and you're not afraid anymore, so why are you afraid of fighting for it?" If Long Yunjian didn't have any feelings for Tong Ziqing, Yiqing Luo would never persuade Tong Ziqing. Judging from Long Yunjian's previous performance and his reaction just now, it seemed that Long Yunjian wasn't a match for him. Yiqing Luo expressed that Long Yunjian was absolutely not like what he looked like on the surface, having no feelings towards Tong Ziqing at all. Long Yunjian was a stupid dragon. You don't know what love is. Therefore, he couldn't tell whether his feelings for Tong Ziqing were love or brotherhood. Tong Ziqing choked. She lowered her eyes and didn't say anything else. Yiqing Luo smiled. "Trying might not necessarily succeed, but if you don't fight for it, you will definitely not succeed. If you're afraid, what's the difference from giving up?" Tong Ziqing still did not speak. Yiqing Luo was about to appease Tong Ziqing. Behind him, Dmo Xian's slightly chilly voice was heard. "Lil Luo, time is running out." Almost at the same time, Tong Ziqing raised her arm and pushed Yiqing Luo away. He widened the distance between them. "Yiqing Luo, Look, even the cold beauty who hardly had any emotional changes was frightened by Ah Xian. Wasn't he just hugging her a little too long? He was even jealous of girls. Yiqing Luo looked at Tong Ziqing and spoke in a low voice, "Let me teach you a way. If you are not sure what feelings Ah Zhan has for you, you can try. Get closer to Si Minghan and you will find some clues." Tong Ziqing's eyes widened. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. "I'm just sorry to see Minghan." Immediately after, she smirked out in a devilish manner. "Is Ah Zhan more important, or is Si Minghan more important? You can choose for yourself." Saying that, he waved his hand at Tong Ziqing, turned around and pounced towards Dmo Xian's direction. Tong Ziqing stared blankly at the direction where Yiqing Luo had left. Who is more important? In his mind, the first time he met Long Yunzhan appeared. He gazed deeply at her with his deep blue eyes that were as beautiful as the deep sea. Then, he reached out to her. His voice was cold, but it brought with it a warmth that she had never felt before. "No one wants you." "What a coincidence, me too. Follow me, we'll become stronger together." That was when they first met. The first words he said to her. Tong Ziqing was at a loss. Suddenly, another figure barged into his line of sight. It was Si Minghan. He walked towards her and called out, "Ziqing. Don't be sad, there's still me." He paused, smiled and continued, "We're still here." His eyes were clear and warm. It seemed to be able to dispel all the coldness in Tong Ziqing's body. Tong Ziqing instinctively took a step back because of Si Minghan's approach. She raised her head and met his eyes. Vaguely, it was as if they had returned to the time when they first met. The youth planted a kiss on her forehead. A clear and bright voice seemed to ring in her ears, "Little beauty, remember my name. I am Si Minghan." "Ziqing?" Suddenly, someone tapped her forehead. Tong Ziqing suddenly regained her senses. That pair of beautiful eyes didn't have the usual coldness as it revealed a trace of confusion. "Why are you in a daze?" Si Minghan curled his lips at her. His smile was mischievous, but it was very handsome. That pampering tone was a tone that would never appear from Long Yunzhan. Chapter 3476. Tong Ziqing's throat was slightly dry as she lowered her head. Before she could finish her words, her wrists suddenly tightened. Her body was pulled backwards as she fell into a firm embrace. Above her head floated a young man's cold and deep voice, "Student Si Minghan, please don't touch our female students." Class monitor." Tong Ziqing's heart trembled as her cheeks instantly turned red. She was now leaning into Long Yunzhan's arms. Her face was pressed against his chest. The distance was so close that she could almost hear his heartbeat. Si Minghan's face sunk as he stared at Long Yunzhan. When the two men's gazes met, there seemed to be electric currents flashing as they intertwined continuously. Yiqing Luo bounced into Dmo Xian's arms as she carefully looked at the man's expression. Following that, her peripheral vision shot towards Tong Ziqing's side. "See that, this is all my credit. Perhaps 3 months later, we'll be able to attend Ziqing and Zhan's wedding." Her hands hugged Dmo Xian's waist as she raised her head and blinked her eyes at him, looking extremely adorable. This coquettish look was only shown in front of Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian's eyes drooped as his peach blossom eyes gazed at the coquettish young lady in front of him. His thin lips curled as his gaze was deep. "My wedding with you, when will we be able to drink it? Aren't I working hard for our future?" Yiqing Luo's cheeks blushed slightly as she smiled. She arched into Dmo Xian's arms. "So, after we reach the upper realm, you must take good care of your future wife," he burst out laughing as his eyes were filled with pampering. Yiqing Luo's eyes curved even more as she smiled, crafty and enchanting. Oh la, the jealousy crisis had been resolved. Success in pacifying. All right, that's enough. Gue Yu pushed Gue Wu and Zhou Mo, "Hurry up and leave, the entrance is about to close." Gue Wu and Zhou Mo, as well as Kitty Lee who was in Zhou Mo's arms, were forcefully pushed to the center of the totem, under the radiance. The three figures immediately disappeared in the radiance. Yiqing Luo held Dmo Xian's hand as she looked at the surrounding crowd. "I'll wait for you all, my brothers. See you 3 months later." Her words had just ended. The light of the totem swallowed the two of them. The separation now was for a better reunion. When the two of them disappeared, the crowd was stunned. The tears that many people had been holding back finally rolled down their cheeks. Everyone raised their heads and stared unblinkingly at the totem that was gradually dimming in the air. Then, even the totem disappeared. The surrounding barrier was also dissipating bit by bit. Everyone stood in place, maintaining their original posture, and remained silent for a long time. Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian, who were swallowed by the light, appeared in a vast sky. The gradually disappearing square totem slowly turned back into 4 sacred beast pearls of different colors. The pearls circled in the air and merged into Yiqing Luo's body. Yiqing Luo only felt an astonishing energy merging into her body and mind. His blood began to boil as if it was being corroded by an oppressive might. His limbs and bones were rapidly flowing with a terrifying temperature. Just when she thought that the feeling of blood boiling in her body would continue, in an instant, it disappeared. That's right. In a split second. Without warning. That feeling disappeared. What replaced it was an extremely carefree and relaxed feeling. Chapter 3477. The 4 sacred beasts pearl has been integrated into your profound jade heart and has become your lifeline. Dmo Xian saw Yiqing Luo's face had returned to calmness. He raised his hand and placed it on her forehead. His slender fingers wiped away the sweat on her forehead. Yiqing Luo nodded. "I thought I was going to advance again. You have integrated with the power of the divine weapon, which has caused your body to consume too much energy. If you advance at this time, it will not be a good thing for you." Dmo Xian curled his lips at her. Yiqing Luo looked up. "So, after I contracted with Xian Gui, you stopped me when I was about to break through the barrier?" Dmo Xian rubbed her fine black hair. "Xian Gui's energy, I've already sealed it within your profound jade heart. When the time is right, when your body is able to withstand it, this energy will be released once again." Yiqing Luo knew. This was because Dmo Xian had spent a lot of energy to seal the power of Xian Gui in her profound jade heart. She hooked her lips and circled his neck. "I will work hard to grow up quickly, so that I can marry my dear Xian." Dmo Xian held her slender waist tightly. "Don't move around, this is already the passage to the upper realm. If you accidentally touch something, you will be swept into another unknown plane." Yiqing Luo was stunned, her eyes widened. In front, Gui Wu, Zhou Mo and Kitty Lee were floating there. Yiqing Luo looked around. In all directions, there was a vast sky, the blueprint of the universe. It was a bit like the feeling of being in the God's array, the battle plane. Dmo Xian explained by the side, "This passageway looks magnificent and beautiful, but every inch of it represents a plane, or an unknown space." Yiqing Luo raised her head in confusion. "Are there so many planes of space here?" "Of course." Dmo Xian nodded. "Like the dark forces before, they belong to Nirvana realm and the border of the upper realm." Yiqing Luo had heard of this before, but she had always thought that this place was the 4 big planes of Nirvana realm and the upper realm. The other forces could only be regarded as forces scattered around. Who would have thought that it really was an independent plane of existence? "Then how can we head to the upper realm?" Yiqing Luo asked. Dmo Xian's slender finger pointed at her profound jade heart. "Use the power of the sacred beast orb to open the passage and meditate on the upper realm. The power of the 4 sacred beast orbs will send us to the exit of the upper realm." Yiqing Luo started to meditate according to Dmo Xian's instructions. A ray of resplendent light blossomed from Yiqing Luo's chest. Yiqing Luo suddenly felt a strong suction force coming towards her. In her ear, the man's deep voice brought her an infinite sense of security. "Hold on to me, don't let go." Swish, the dazzling light enveloped everyone. Yiqing Luo closed her eyes from the piercing rays. Immediately following that, her and Dmo Xian's body swayed violently. The dazzling light gradually dissipated. The suction force also disappeared. He could hear Kitty Li panting in panic and Zhou Mo's comforting voice in a soft voice. In a daze, Yiqing Luo raised her head and looked at the man. "Ah Xian, have we arrived?" "We're here." Dmo Xian held her hand and interlocked their fingers. "I'll bring you out." Chapter 3478. She followed behind Dmo Xian just like that. She didn't notice that at the instance when she and Dmo Xian held hands and turned around. A thin crack slowly widened. In front, Zhou Mo, Gue Wu, and the rest had already walked out of the tunnel and disappeared into the vast sky. Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian followed closely behind. Just at this moment, there was a sudden loud rumbling sound behind them. Following that, the entire vast sky started to gather like a spiral hurricane. Ah Xian. This tyrannical hurricane made Yiqing Luo's heart ache as she swiftly grabbed Dmo Xian's wrist. She had no idea what was going on at all due to the sudden gust of wind. Dmo Xian held her hand and was about to stretch out his arm to pull Yiqing Luo into his embrace. But his hand had just lifted up. When his vision touched Yiqing Luo's back, his expression suddenly changed. The green veins on his forehead were popping out. "Lil Luo, hold me tightly, don't let go," he shouted in a hoarse voice. Beside her ear, that tyrannical hurricane was howling and she couldn't hear Dmo Xian's voice clearly. She only felt that the hurricane was getting closer and closer to her. But from Dmo Xian's expression, this hurricane was dangerous. Piak piak piak, boom. A few explosions were heard. Yiqing Luo felt her ears were buzzing. In the haze, she saw Dmo Xian stretching out his hand towards her. But there seemed to be something between the two of them. She could only hold on tightly to Dmo Xian's interlocked hands. In this unknown place, towards the surroundings, it was unknown and at a loss. She totally didn't know what had happened. The hurricane was getting closer. What followed was the wind brought by the hurricane, which blew her body into the air, as though it wanted to sweep her into the hurricane. Piak. Massive amounts of energy exploded in the vast sky. Yiqing Luo and Dmo Xian's interlocked hands seemed to be pricked by something. It was so painful that Yiqing Luo's brows twitched. Following that, there was a feeling of being electrocuted as it started to spread from their interlocked hands. This electric shock. This caused the two of them to loosen their grip a little. Yiqing Luo seemed to have seen Dmo Xian opening his mouth, saying something to her. But the hurricane was too strong for her to hear. Amidst the explosive energy, everything in front of him became hazy and blurry. She couldn't see Dmo Xian's lips at all. She only knew that Dmo Xian's expression was anxious and flustered. He said something to her. He was fighting with something on one side. However, his attention was still focused on her. In addition, the electric shock was getting stronger and stronger. Just at this moment, a huge pulling force came from Yiqing Luo's back. Yiqing Luo had yet to regain her senses. That hand which was holding Dmo Xian's, slipped out of Dmo Xian's large palm. Her body felt light, and she was forcefully thrown out. Then, everything went black. She lost all consciousness. Little Luo. Air. Dmo Xian's eyes widened, his eyes filled with ruthlessness and ruthlessness. Looking at the place where Yiqing Luo disappeared, he shouted out Yiqing Luo's name at the top of his lungs. He clenched his fists tightly, as his scarlet-red eyes stared sharply at that crack in front of him, and that whirlpool that attacked. Secluded palace. These 3 words popped out from the slits of his teeth. He leaped into the air and rushed towards the crack in the wall. Chapter 3479. When Yiqing Luo opened her eyes in a daze, her ears were filled with noisy noises. Where did this little beggar come from? How dare he block Princess Yulu's way? What are you all waiting for? Quickly throw this little beggar aside, don't tarnish Princess Yulu's face. Similar noises pierced her ears. Following that, someone grabbed her arm. She frowned and wanted to struggle. But before she could move, she was pressed onto the ground by the two people who were holding her arms. What the hell? What the hell was this situation? The sharp pain in her arms made Yiqing Luo regain her consciousness. In front of her was a noisy street. On both sides of the street, there were various stalls. And at this moment, all the people on the street were surrounding her, pointing and whispering to her. In front of her was a young lady dressed in emerald green maid attire, looking at her with arrogance and disgust. And her two hands were held tightly by two fierce-looking old maids. The imposing manner from them told Yiqing Luo. These two old maids were not weak. Yiqing Luo's mind was spinning rapidly. Her mind flashed with everything that happened in the upper realms passage yesterday. She was pulled into the hurricane by a pulling force. And when she opened her eyes again, it was this scene in front of her. Where was Ah Xian? What was that hurricane? And what was this place? Numerous questions surfaced in her mind. But she couldn't get an answer. Hurry and bring her down. Princess Yulu will be here soon. Don't let Princess Yulu see this beggar. That maid instructed arrogantly. The old maid locked Yiqing Luo's arms and supported her as they walked towards the alleyway. Yiqing Luo didn't resist. She still hadn't figured out the situation. She didn't know what plane this was. And there were so many onlookers. If she resisted, she might not be able to gain any advantage. Yiqing Luo was dragged to the deep end of the alley. The hubbub was isolated behind his ears. The two old maids threw her onto the ground. Yiqing Luo then saw the faces of the two old maids clearly. They were around 50 years old. He looked ferocious and fierce. It could be seen that his hands were stained with blood. Yiqing Luo was secretly speculating on the disparity between herself and these two old maids. Little beggar, if you die, don't look for us. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for appearing on Princess Yulu's way back to the city. One of the old maids looked at her coldly. His tone was filled with killing intent. Another old maid took out a dagger from the space pocket on her waist and walked nearer to Yiqing Luo. These two old maids apparently didn't put Yiqing Luo in their eyes. His attitude was extremely casual. When the old maid held the dagger and got close to Yiqing Luo, Yiqing Luo suddenly flipped her palm and locked the old maid's wrist. Then, it spun rapidly. He snatched the dagger. Immediately, he slashed the dagger toward the old maid's neck. This series of actions was completed in an instant. The old maid didn't even have time to react. He fell to the ground, blood spurting out. You. The other old maid widened her eyes and looked at Yiqing Luo in astonishment. You're actually a cultivator. Yiqing Luo gently flicked the bloody dagger. Her fingertip flicked lightly. The dagger spun and flew away. It stabbed steadily into the chest of the old maid who fell to the ground. She stood up and patted the dust off her body. Either answer all my questions obediently, or I'll send you down to accompany your good partner. Chapter 3480. That old maid's face sunk, her face filled with malice. His vigorous figure fiercely attacked towards Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes slightly, using her eyes to glance at the profound heart jade in the old maid's body. Not bad. This old maid's profound heart jade was actually green grade. Green grade, in the profound heart jade's grade, was the 4th grade, considered intermediate grade. A old maid's profound heart jade grade, was this strong? From the old maid's attack, the profound energy fluctuations released, and the green grade profound heart jade's fluctuations. Yiqing Luo could roughly guess. The old maid's own profound grade should be around sky profound 3rd grade. Just as the old maid's sinister claws were just one step away from Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo backhanded the old maid's wrist. She lifted her leg, and fiercely kicked the old maid's abdomen. The old maid's body was kicked out, and hit the wall of the alley. The old maid rolled a few rounds, and spat out a large mouthful of blood. The quiet alley, blood stained the ground. That old maid wanted to prop herself up, but found that her chest was surging with blood. Even moving was a bit strenuous. The old maid opened her eyes wide in shock, looking at Yiqing Luo. Like she couldn't believe it. The one in front of her looked like a beggar, without any fighting power, so weak that one finger could pinch her to death. Her strength was actually above her. Obviously, she couldn't sense any profound chi fluctuations on this young lady. Could it be, this beggar was actually an unworldly expert? The old maid's heart suddenly jumped, and the gaze she looked at Yiqing Luo was filled with fear. Yiqing Luo, who didn't know that she was regarded as an unworldly expert, slowly walked to the old maid's side. She lifted her leg and stepped on the old maid's chest, looking down at the old maid, her pink lips lightly hooked. Now, do you know what to choose? I know. The old maid was scared silly, and nodded repeatedly. Yiqing Luo curled her lips in satisfaction. Where is this place? Why do you want to make a move on me? The old maid was stunned, not expecting Yiqing Luo to ask these questions. After meeting Yiqing Luo's eyes, the old maid shivered, and replied in a trembling voice, This is Without Embroiling City. Without Embroiling City? Yiqing Luo's pupils contracted slightly as she bent down and increased the strength of her foot on the old woman's body. You said this is Without Embroiling City? The old maid grimaced in pain and mumbled, It's Without Embroiling City. Yiqing Luo's fingers that were hanging by the side of her body slightly bent. This place was actually Without Embroiling City. She was now in the territory of the upper realm. Xian had explained this to her before. In the upper realm, the earth realm was one of the lower levels. It was also their destination this time. The earth realm was different from the nirvana realm. The earth boundary was divided into 3 main cities that were located in 3 directions. Without Embroiling City, Without Yama City, Without Shadow City. Every main city had its own city lord, which was equivalent to the royal family of the 4 continents of the nirvana realm, managing their own cities. However, when they were in the tunnel, she had heard Dmo Xian mention it before. Their destination was Shadowless City in the Earth domain. Over at Shadowless City, there was a friend of Dmo Xian. Yiqing Luo was still curious. What kind of friend would a person like Dmo Xian have? In the tunnel, she didn't even know what had happened, but fortunately, she wasn't swept into other unknown spaces. At least, this was still the Earth domain. It seemed that she had to adapt to the situation in the Earth domain as soon as possible and rush to Shadowless City to meet up with Xian and the rest. She was suddenly swept away by the hurricane. Chapter 3481. Yiqing Luo lowered her eyes and looked at the profound phoenix ring on her fingertips. He let out a soft sigh. Up until now, the Netherworld Phoenix Ring had not revealed the slightest aura of the Netherworld Dragon Ring. She had no idea where Xian was right now. She could only hope that Xian would be waiting for her in Shadowless City. Yiqing Luo expressed that God might be teasing her. He originally thought that after arriving at the upper realm, she would have more opportunities to be alone with Xian. In the past, in the Nirvana realm, because of his brothers by his side, it was indeed difficult for her to have a chance to be alone with Xian. When the passage to the upper realm was opened, Xian was obviously in a good mood. At that time, Xian must have had the same thought as her. However, he did not expect that such a thing would happen in the passageway. This caused her and Xian to be separated once again. If she knew who was the one who created that hurricane, she must dismember that person into 1,000 pieces. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips as her eyes flashed past a trace of sinister killing intent. The old maid who was lying on the ground was scared stiff by the murderous aura. Fearing that Yiqing Luo would suddenly kill her, she immediately wailed, Miss, spare my life. I'm just following orders. This has nothing to do with me. Yiqing Luo's deep thoughts were interrupted by the old maid's sharp voice. Yi Qing Luo squinted at the old maid as she retracted her leg which was stepping on her. I don't know you at all, why do you want my life? Today is the day that Princess Yu Lu returns to Without Embroiling City from Exquisite Pavilion. Miss, you are blocking Princess Yu Lu's path, that is looking down on Princess Yu Lu's authority. Princess Yu Lu's personal maid Kai Dai ordered us in Princess Yu Lu's name. It is difficult for us to disobey Princess Yu Lu's orders. Princess Yu Lu? Yi Qing Luo frowned. The old maid saw Yi Qing Luo's expression and was rather cautious, with a sliver of astonishment. Don't tell me. Miss doesn't know Princess Yu Lu? Yi Qing Luo asked back, am I supposed to know her? When she first came to the Earth domain, she only knew about the Hell Palace and the earthly sovereign. He didn't know anything else. But, the old maid obviously misunderstood again. They deeply thought that Yi Qing Luo was disdainful of knowing Princess Yu Lu because of her respectable status and powerful ability, totally disregarding Princess Yu Lu, totally disregarding her. Immediately, the old maid's fear and respect towards Yi Qing Luo rose to another level. Princess Yu Lu is the Empyrean fairy of Without Embroiling City. The old maid explained, she's the most honorable person in Without Embroiling City. She won't allow any accidents to happen on her way back to the city. Besides, the old maid took a look at Yi Qing Luo, although young miss is a beggar, but I can tell that. Young miss is very beautiful. Just based on young miss's looks, if you appear in front of Princess Yu Lu will use an even more cruel method. To torture young miss to death. The mysterious fairy of Without Embroiling City? What the hell? Shouldn't the most honorable person be the lord of a city? Cough, cough, suddenly, old man Song coughed softly in her mind. Little girl, in the Earth realm, the status of the Empyrean fairy is equivalent to the status of the 4 great sect masters in the Nirvana realm. Old Song. I've been in a daze for quite a while. Why did you only appear now? It was not easy for him to hear a familiar voice when he first arrived in the other world. Chapter 3482. Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips. The mysterious fairy you mentioned earlier has the same status as the Nirvana realm's sect master? Meaning, the 3 main cities' lords and the mysterious fairy of Exquisite Pavilion are mutually checking and balancing each other? You can explain it that way. Old man Song replied, the Earth realm has a total of 3 main cities, 3 lords and 3 mysterious fairies. He paused. The Pavilion of Exquisite Pavilion is the place to select mysterious fairies. Every year, there will be countless women selected to enter the Pavilion of Exquisite Pavilion to undergo mysterious fairy training, but only a few can make it to the end. Among the remaining few women, only 3 will be able to become the mysterious ladies of the Earth realm. Yi Qing Luo nodded in understanding. She looked at that old woman again. Since old man Song had already contacted her, she didn't need to find out about Without Embroiling City through other people's mouths. The old woman sensed Yi Qing Luo's murderous aura and instantly stiffened, her pupils dilated. I have already answered your question, you can't kill me. Yi Qing Luo smiled brightly. Profound rays shot out from her fingertips. That dagger which was originally stabbed in the chest of the other old woman was suddenly pulled out of that old woman's body and immediately stabbed into that old woman's chest. Yi Qing Luo restrained the energy fluctuations on her body, stretched out her body and disappeared into the alley. Just at the moment when her figure disappeared. On the other side of the long alley, a black figure slowly leaped down from the wall. The young man's silver hair was fixed with a jade hairpin. A black robe and that silver hair. The color contrast was extremely obvious. He looked at the direction where the young lady left. His slender fingers stroked his chin. His smile was full of meaning. After leaving the alley, Yi Qing Luo pondered over what she had asked from the old woman. That mystic fairy called Yu Lu should be an extremely jealous woman, and she was also extremely overbearing. Those who blocked the way or saw some beautiful women would all be killed. She still decided not to walk on the street for the time being. In this Earth realm, her ability was not considered powerful. Ah Xian was not by her side. It was better to be careful in everything. She had just arrived at the Earth realm and already made enemies. It was too unwise. Yiqing Luo planned to find an inn to tidy herself up first. After all, he was called a little beggar. It could be seen how pathetic she was right now. Yiqing Luo turned left and right, carefully avoiding the bustling area. Whether it was in the Nirvana realm or the upper realm, the strong were respected, and strength reigned supreme. Regardless of the personality of Mystic Rain Du Maiden, her strength alone was enough for the citizens of Without Embroiling City to revere her. Today was the day that Princess Yulu would return to the city. Basically, all the citizens of the city went to pay their respects to Princess Yulu. Yiqing Luo chose a slightly more secluded inn. He took out a bag of coins from the profound phoenix ring and walked into the inn. I want a room. One superior room, 10 pieces of crystal, please pay the bill over here. The waiter didn't reveal any disgusted expression just because Yiqing Luo looked like a little beggar. Hearing the word crystal stone, Yiqing Luo was stunned for a moment. The hand holding the coin paused for a moment. Crystal, what the hell? This old man forgot to remind you, in the upper realm, those coins in the lower realm, are all useless things. The currency used in the upper realm is crystal stones. Old man Sung coughed a few times. Because the overlord is always by your side, he will arrange this kind of small matter. Chapter 3483. Yiqing Luo, well, she didn't think that such an accident would happen. Dear customer. The waiter looked at Yiqing Luo handing over the money bag and kept it back as he reminded her in puzzlement. Yiqing Luo coughed lightly as she replied awkwardly, may I know, where is the trading hall here? After Yiqing Luo asked this question, she herself felt embarrassed. The waiter was stunned for a moment, but since he had been staying in the inn, he was adept at observing people's expressions and immediately understood Yiqing Luo's meaning. The waiter did not show any signs of displeasure and told her the exact location of the trading house. Yiqing Luo expressed her thanks and rushed towards that location. Yiqing Luo had just left. The waiter turned around and returned to the inner hall of the inn. He said to the silver-haired youth who was sitting in the middle of the hall, drinking wine, "Young Master Qiao, the lady has left." Gone? What's going on? The silver-haired youth put down the wine glass. The waiter narrated the conversation between him and Yiqing Luo in detail to the silver-haired young man. He went to the Zhongqing trading firm. The silver-haired youth lowered his eyes. Then, he stood up. A black robe spread out like an ink painting, pouring down. You did very well. The silver-haired youngster flicked his finger, and a bag of crystals on his waist fell into the hands of the waiter. She is very vigilant. If you don't take her crystals and let her stay in the inn, she will only be more vigilant. The waiter caught the crystal with both hands and bowed respectfully. The waiter only heaved a sigh of relief after the silver-haired youth left. Zhongqing Trading Center. Yiqing Luo stood at the entrance, watching the people going in and out of the trading area. Whether it was the way they dressed or the way they talked, they were either rich or noble. Two beautiful young women were standing at the entrance, smiling as they welcomed the customers entering the trading house. However, it was probably because most of the people had gone to the city gate to welcome Princess Yulu back to the city. The exchange hall wasn't exactly bustling. This was exactly what Yiqing Luo wanted. She took out a few white jade bottles from the profound phoenix ring. All of them were lower than mid-level pills. Medicinal pills to treat internal and external injuries, or to replenish energy and physical strength. Whether it was in the Nirvana realm or the upper realm, the profession of apothecary was relatively rare. Elixirs were very popular no matter where they were sold. There were still plenty of high-grade pills in the profound phoenix ring. However, she did not intend to take it out. These medicinal pills for internal and external injuries were more common. In exchange for some currency used by the upper realm, it was enough to maintain the current life. Yiqing Luo took the white jade bottle and walked towards the entrance of the exchange hall. Before he reached the gate, the lady who was in charge of receiving the guests had a change of expression as she stretched out her hand to stop Yiqing Luo. "Little beggar, This is not a place you can afford to offend. Quickly go to one side and wait, don't offend the esteemed guest. Yi Qing Luo, who was stopped. She really wanted to take a look at her current appearance and see exactly how wretched she looked. Was that why he was treated as a beggar over and over again? Even when he was in the passageway, he was swept up by the hurricane and messed up. But the material of the robe she was wearing was also of the highest quality. I'm here to. Yi Qing Luo expressed that it was her first time here and she didn't want to stir up trouble and was about to explain. Just as the words left his mouth, the lady who was in charge of receiving the guests impatiently chased them away. Go, 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 hurry up and leave this place. If you continue to block the entrance and delay the trading house's business, don't blame me for bullying a little beggar like you. Chapter 3484. The lady who received the guests had no intention to explain to Yi Qing Luo at all. She directly called the guards who were guarding the trading house and got them to carry Yi Qing Luo down. Two profound practitioners dressed in the uniform of guards quickly walked forward. One on the left and one on the right, they were about to hold Yi Qing Luo's arms. Yi Qing Luo. What sin had she committed? Why was it that her heaven-defying luck was gone after she reached the earth realm? She was thrown out just because she didn't agree? Yi Qing Luo expressed that she had already endured enough since she had just arrived. If she continued to endure, she would become the teenage mutant ninja turtle. Yi Qing Luo frowned as an impatient expression surfaced on her face. I heard that Zhongqing Trading House is the biggest trading house in Without Embroiling City and is open for business. I didn't expect you to shut your customers out. Heh, the biggest trading house is also short-sighted. As she was speaking, just as the guard was about to make a move on her, she raised her leg and kicked the guard's abdomen without hesitation. The guard's body suddenly retreated and bumped into another guard's body. The two of them were kicked out by this strong force. They knocked onto the signboard of the trading house. With a kacha sound, the signboard broke into two sides. You! How dare you create trouble in Zhongqing Trading House? The lady who called the guards over had a huge change in expression as she pointed at Yi Qing Luo and accused her angrily. But the gaze which she shot at Yi Qing Luo was obviously filled with a trace of fear. Yi Qing Luo's action had caused too much momentum. Many people's gazes were attracted over. They heard someone creating trouble in the trading house. The guards of the trading house immediately rushed over to this side. For a moment, the entire trading house's entrance was in chaos. The trading house's big boss rushed over in a hurry and saw the young lady who was surrounded by the guards. He could barely tell that this was a young lady. Big Boss's expression was slightly sunken. Who are you? Who sent you to create trouble in Zhongqing Trading House at this time? This young lady looked to be around 15 or 16 years old. It was impossible for someone to create trouble in Zhongqing Trading House without any instigation from behind. Big Boss's mind had already concocted a bunch of conspiracy theories. Yi Qing Luo's gaze swept across the surroundings. He secretly exclaimed in his heart. As expected of the Earth domain, the guards of the Honesty Trading Company were all profounders at the Sky Profounder realm or above. In the Nirvana realm, profound practitioners of the Sky Profound realm were known as Sky Profound Supremes. In the entire Nirvana realm, the number of profound practitioners in the Profound Sky continent who could name him could be counted on one hand. When he reached the Earth domain, profound practitioners of the Profound Sky continent were a dime a dozen. Yi Qing Luo expressed that she was only at Sky Profound 9th grade profound grade. In this place where the experts were as numerous as the clouds, she was really trash. Yi Qing Luo sighed as she retracted her gaze, as her vision fell onto First Master. Looking at the Eldest Master's vigilant gaze, Yi Qing Luo remained calm. You'd better ask clearly if it's me who's causing trouble or your Zhongqing exchange who's looking for trouble. Chief Head's brows creased tightly as he looked at Yi Qing Luo's dressing, and then looked at the lady who was welcoming the guests. The woman was so scared that she shrunk her neck and looked away guiltily. The leader instantly understood. When doing business, it's the customers who choose you, not the other way around. If Zhongqing Exchange uses their eyes to choose their customers, then I'm very suspicious that Zhongqing Exchange is just an undeserved trading house. Yiqing Luo gave a cold laugh as she questioned. Chapter 3485. The great master's expression sunk slightly after hearing Yiqing Luo's words. He rubbed his plump tummy and said sternly, "Miss is insulting the integrity of China Honesty Trading Firm. How dare you say you're not sent by others?" Finishing his words, he sized up Yiqing Luo. "In this without embroiling city, everyone knows that China Honesty Trading Firm is an outstanding trading firm handpicked by Princess Yu Lu. China Honesty Trading Firm never selects its customers based on their looks. We only hope that customers can tidy up their appearance before entering the trading firm, as a form of respect to Princess Yu Lu and the other customers." In just a few words, he tore off that snobbish label that Yiqing Luo stuck on China Honesty Trading Firm. "No wonder you're the great master of the trading firm, you can even make the dead look alive." Yiqing Luo sneered as her lips twitched. The great master's expression didn't change. "I'm just following the rules of China Honesty Trading Firm, speaking the truth. So you can't enter the trading firm if your appearance isn't tidy, and you have to be forcefully thrown out by the guards." Yiqing Luo glanced at those fierce-looking guards with a smile that didn't look like a smile. "Today, I've learned something new. In China Honesty Trading Firm, if you're thrown out by the guards, you can't retaliate. If you retaliate, you're deliberately discrediting China Honesty Trading Firm." Yiqing Luo didn't want to argue with the great master about her appearance. She was so pathetic that she was treated as a beggar. To argue about her appearance would only put her in the wrong. The great master's face turned ashen from Yiqing Luo's rebuttal. The number of people surrounding them, or the customers entering and exiting the trading firm, increased. If this carried on, no matter what the outcome would be, it would only spoil China Honesty Trading Firm's reputation. The great master pondered and brought this lady to the back hall, to prevent the crowd from watching the show. Suddenly, he heard a lady's sweet voice. "Where did this little beggar come from? Do you think China Honesty Trading Firm is a place where you can come and go as you please?" Hearing this voice, the great master's expression changed again. He couldn't tell what kind of emotion he was feeling. It didn't seem like he was happy, but rather helpless. Then, as if he had accepted his fate, he stepped forward with a smile. "Third Miss Yu, what brings you here?" Yiqing Luo raised her brows and looked towards the direction of the voice. On the other side of the street, he saw a young lady dressed in a luxurious jade green dress with a white veil over it. She was surrounded by guards and maids in twos and threes. The woman was about 16 or 17 years old and was very beautiful. I was still welcoming Sister Yu Lu at the front. I heard that someone was causing trouble at the Zhongqing Trading Center, so I came over to have a look. The woman raised her chin arrogantly. The great master's face paled. This matter has already spread to the streets?" The woman glanced at him arrogantly. "There are so many people coming and going in the trading house. Nothing can escape the eyes of the citizens." Then, Princess Yu Lu. The great master was so frightened that his entire body started to tremble. He glared angrily at the welcoming lady. "Sister Yu Lu still doesn't know. Hurry and settle this beggar. Don't spoil the trading house's reputation." The lady started walking towards Yiqing Luo's direction. When his vision was fixed on Yiqing Luo. Chapter 3486. "Third Miss Yu is right. I'm doing this to ensure the absolute safety of our guests in the exchange hall." First Master immediately chimed in. First Master and the young lady chimed in one after another, totally not giving Yiqing Luo a chance to speak. The surrounding guests and citizens all nodded their heads, expressing their approval of Zhongqing Exchange's way of doing things. First Master took the chance and immediately called out to the guards, "Bring this guest down first." After confirming her identity, "If she's really a guest who's here to participate in the auction, I'll personally apologize and give you Zhongqing Exchange's VIP card." These words were obviously said for the surrounding crowd to hear. The guards received the order and immediately crowded forward. Yiqing Luo's eyes surfaced a chilly intent. Her fingertips moved slightly. A blazing red fan appeared in her hands. "Lass, you're indeed a troublemaker. You've just reached the earth boundary and you're already starting to create trouble." Old man Song's helpless voice rang in her mind. Yiqing Luo replied, "There are always unruly people who want to harm me. What can I do? I'm also in despair, all right." She was thinking of quietly exchanging some crystals and then looking for an inn to tidy herself up. After that, heading towards Shadowless City to look for Ah Xian. Who knew that so many messy things would happen? That strong fate of hers, had it been used up in Nirvana realm? So now, no matter where she went, she would be chased by others? Surely the other party couldn't slap her on her face. Would she be so silly not to retaliate? The guards released their energy fluctuations, which had completely enveloped Yiqing Luo. Majestic and valiant, like a turbulent wave, surging continuously. Yiqing Luo's fingertips moved as she was about to release her profound energy. Suddenly, an indescribable energy fluctuation came crashing down from the sky. The guards who surrounded Yiqing Luo. They were directly thrown onto the ground by this energy. This sudden energy fluctuation made everyone present shocked. First Master's expression was extremely complicated. But that young lady who was addressed as Third Miss Yu, revealed a joyous expression. "It's Brother Yin Yen." The young lady's joyous voice had just ended. She saw a young man dressed in a black long robe, descending from the sky. The youth's long robe was as black as ink. When it cascaded down, it was as if ink had dyed an exquisite ink painting. The most eye-catching thing was the youth's long silver hair. It was a stark contrast to the black robe. The youth was handsome, and there was a hint of laziness in his eyes. His jet-black eyes flickered with light, looking extremely dazzling. Even Yiqing Luo, who was used to seeing handsome men. He couldn't help but be stunned by this face. "Brother Yin Yen, why are you here?" The girl's face was full of joy as she walked up to the young man. However, the young man did not even look at the woman from the corner of his eyes. Instead, he stared fixedly at the young girl who stood in the middle of the fallen guards. This gaze was very scorching. But it wasn't too annoying. However, she still felt uncomfortable being stared at like this. Yiqing Luo raised her hand and rubbed her face. Why was that youth staring at her? He rubbed it. Yiqing Luo's hands were full of mud. He stared at the dried soil in his palm. Yiqing Luo silently wiped her hands. Could it be that the young man was staring at the soil on her face? Brother Yin Yen. The young lady who was unwilling to be neglected twisted her waist, putting on an aggrieved delicate look as she leaned towards the young man. Chapter 3487. But the lady's body had just fallen into the young man's arms. The young man took a step forward and walked towards Yiqing Luo. The woman immediately staggered and fell heavily to the ground. She was in so much pain that her features were twisted as she stared maliciously at Yiqing Luo, baring her fangs and brandishing her claws. "You little slut, how dare you seduce Brother Yin Yen?" Her words weren't completed. A gaze that was as cold as a sharp blade fell on her body. The lady was so shocked that she trembled as her throat seemed to be blocked by something. She couldn't say a single word. The young man's gaze was simply too shocking. The lady had never seen such an expression on Brother Yin Yan's face. But now, Brother Yin Yen was standing up for that little beggar? Thinking of this, the lady's face turned pale as she called out softly with a trembling voice, "Brother Yin Yen. Eldest young Master Qiao, You're here, why didn't you inform us in advance?" Eldest Master put on a flattering smile as he walked towards the silver-haired young man. But Xiao Yin didn't bother about Eldest Master as he walked straight towards Yiqing Luo and stood still. There was only a step's distance between the two of them. Yiqing Luo raised her head and met the young man's eyes. The glower flame fan in her hand slightly tightened as she waited vigilantly for the young man's next move. 4 pairs of eyes met and both of them were calm. However, there was a sense of mutual hostility. The crowd didn't know why, but when they saw this scene, they felt an indescribable pressure pressing down on them. Eldest young Master Qiao seems to know that young lady? When Xiao Yin appeared, numerous citizens were stirred up. As compared to the small scuffle with Yiqing Luo, it was much livelier. The citizens couldn't help but started to discuss. Don't you feel that young lady doesn't look like an ordinary beggar? Standing together with eldest young Master Qiao, she wasn't suppressed by his imposing manner at all. Not only not suppressed, there's a kind of evenly matched imposing manner with eldest young Master Qiao. Who on earth is that young lady? The sounds of discussion entered the ears of the disheveled and desolate lady who had fallen onto the ground. The lady's twisted expression became even more terrifying. She clenched her fists tightly and glared at the gossiping citizens. What nonsense are you talking about? Big Brother Yin Yen is about to break through the divine profound realm and become a god. How can you compare yourself to a beggar? Brother Yin Yen doesn't know that slut. Even a little beggar wants to climb up the social ladder. The woman shouted angrily. However, the two people who were being discussed by the crowd remained silent. Yiqing Luo had heard what third Miss Yu said. When his gaze slid to the face of the silver-haired youth in front of him, his heart couldn't help but tremble. This young man was at most 18 years old. He's actually someone who's about to break through to the spirit Xian realm? Wasn't this world a little too terrifying? One had to know, after breaking through the sky profound realm, one would enter the sage profound realm of the myth realm. After Xian Xian. Unlike the sky profound realm, there were only 9 ranks between each profound rank. After reaching the profound sage realm, if one wanted to break through, they would have to raise their cultivation by 15 levels. In other words, this silver-haired youth was already a 15th stage sage profound realm super expert. Yiqing Luo kept her glower flame fan. If Qiao Yimian really wanted to make a move on her. Chapter 3488. Qiao Yimian's eyes moved slightly, apparently noticing Yiqing Luo's action. He curled his lips and stared straight at Yiqing Luo, as if trying to see her original appearance through the mud and dirt on her face. This smile made that handsome face even more stunning. I'm Qiao Yimian, what about you? He opened his mouth, his voice was very low, without any extra emotions. Yiqing Luo just looked at him and didn't speak. Qiao Yimian didn't ask further, but looked at the entrance of the exchange hall. Do you need me to accompany you into the exchange hall? Yiqing Luo pursed her lips and raised her eyebrows, still not answering Qiao Yimian. Her half-squinted eyes were suffused with a very shallow, very faint, unreal chill. This scene caused the surrounding crowd to be astonished. What shocked them was not only Yiqing Luo's attitude towards Qiao Yimian, but also Qiao Yimian's attitude towards Yiqing Luo. Who was Qiao Yimian? The first family in Without Embroiling City, the young master of the Qiao family, the future head of the Qiao family. The youngest cultivator who was about to enter the spirit mystic realm in Without Embroiling City, a 15th grade cultivator. He was handsome. His family background was heaven-defying. His strength was also outstanding. He was a perfect man who had all the advantages in the world. He was the dream lover of countless girls in Without Embroiling City and even the entire Earth boundary. No matter how reserved the girl was. After seeing Qiao Yimian, they would cry and beg to marry him. But Qiao Yimian's character was cold, and he had never been close to any members of the opposite sex. Not to mention the opposite sex. He didn't even have many friends of the same sex. But now, Qiao Yimian was taking the initiative to a girl who looked like a beggar. Did they see wrongly? Or were they dreaming? They simply couldn't believe what they were seeing and hearing. But all of this was really happening in front of their eyes. It was Qiao Yimian who took the initiative to ask for the girl's name. Taking the initiative to be friendly. Mainly to invite the girl to enter the exchange hall with him. Qiao Yimian's attitude also represented that girl's status in Without Embroiling City. The onlookers were shocked. The chief master was also stunned. First master's reaction was swift, and on seeing Qiao Yimian's attitude, he immediately revealed a flattering smile, as though the conflict between him and Yiqing Luo had never happened at all. Young Master Qiao, young lady, this way please. I've already asked the servant girls to prepare the best tea. If the two of you want to learn anything from the exchange hall, I'll do my best to satisfy you. The first head's words caused third young Miss Yu Jiwen, who was standing to the side and being helped up by the maidservants, to change her expression. Her bloodshot eyes stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. He clenched his fists tightly in his sleeves. He wanted to vent his anger and pull that little slut away from his big brother Yin Yan. However, when Yu Jiwen thought of the way brother Yin Yan looked at her just now, his heart was filled with fear. She could only watch helplessly. She looked at this Qiao Yin Yan, who, in her memories, had always been cold and aloof. Even though he had always been courteous to people and things, he had always carried a faint feeling of alienation. It was as if no one could get close to him. But in front of this little slut. But his smile was so bright and stunning. This wasn't her big brother Yin Yan. Her big brother Yin Yan shouldn't be like this. Chapter 3489. The young lady's words were extremely arrogant. Not only did she give the first master a tight slap, she even gave Qiao Yin Yan a tight slap. The surroundings of the trading house fell into a strange silence. Yu Jiwen was so angry that she was trembling. Her face was twisted and her eyes were filled with hostility. That little slut had the cheek to reject brother Yin Yan's help? Who did she think she was? But Xiao Yin Yan, who was standing in front of the young lady, didn't look angry at Yiqing Luo's rejection. Instead, he chuckled softly. That laughter made the first master tremble. His cold sweat soaked his robe. He clenched his fists and tried hard to make his voice sound more humble. Miss, this is just a misunderstanding, a misunderstanding. I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai and offended you. Please give me a chance to redeem myself. Saying that, the first master cupped his hands and bowed towards Yiqing Luo. This action, to be honest, was indeed giving Yiqing Luo a great deal of respect. After all, Zhongqing Trading House was the #1 trading house in Without Embroiling City. In addition, Princess Yu Lu was the spokesperson of Zhongqing Trading House. The guests that came and went were naturally very respectful towards the first master. Looking at the entire Without Embroiling City, to be able to make the first master of Zhongqing Trading House to flatter and bow down to apologize, one could count it with one hand. But now, he was bowing down to a little girl and apologizing to her in a humble manner. Although this was because of young Master Qiao. But everyone still felt that it was inconceivable. Yu Jiwen was about to die from anger. Her eyes were red as she tried hard to hold back her tears. She stared at Yiqing Luo fiercely and looked at Xiao Yin Yan in a daze. Seeing that Xiao Yin Yan's line of sight was still on Yiqing Luo, she clenched her fists and turned to leave. Just as she turned her head, she heard the young lady's mocking voice behind her. Misunderstanding? I don't think there's any misunderstanding between us. First master's apology, a young lady like me can't afford it and I don't want it. The moment these words came out, it made Yu Jiwen's footsteps paused. Even the sound of breathing in the surroundings became narrow-minded. What the hell? Did they hear wrongly? That little girl actually didn't accept the first master's apology. He even mocked her time and time again. Even if he was spoiled, there should be a limit, right? In the silence, Yu Jiwen's eyes were bloodshot and her face was twisted. She was about to speak. Miss, you are very self-aware. Indeed, you cannot afford the apology of the head of the sincerity trading firm. Right at this moment, a clear and pleasant voice sounded from outside the crowd. It broke the strange silence at this moment. That voice was imposing without being angry. It carried with it an enormous dignity that could shake one's heart. Upon hearing this sound, Yu Jiwen's eyes lit up as she looked in the direction of the voice. The great master, who was also looking over in shock, couldn't help but smile. Then, not far away, under the noisy crowd of the citizens, a bright white carriage was slowly approaching. Just as the carriage was about to enter the trading hall, a small white hand lifted the curtain of the carriage. A slender figure walked out of the carriage. The woman was dressed in white. Her hair was coiled up with a few jade hairpins. From her dressing, one could tell that the woman's status was noble. Her delicate face was covered by a white veil, revealing only a pair of beautiful eyes with a threatening aura. Even though the veil covered half of her face. Chapter 3490. Sister Yu Lu. When Yu Jiwen saw the woman, she rushed forward ecstatically. But before he could get close, he was stopped by the maid standing beside the woman. The woman glanced at Yu Jiwen. Yu Jiwen's face turned pale. She stopped in her tracks and took a few steps back. She didn't dare to move closer to the woman. That lady slowly walked towards Qiao Yinyan and Yiqing Luo. Her steps were graceful and graceful. His every movement was filled with arrogance. As the woman walked over, she arrogantly said, "It's good to know your own limits. At least, you won't die so painfully." When Qiao Yinyan saw the woman, the smile on his handsome face froze as he said, "Princess Yu Lu. Big brother." When the woman met Qiao Yinyan's gaze, her arrogance faded a little, and she smiled. "You and I are family. Big brother, just call me second sister like before." While speaking, the lady's vision was still faintly sweeping past Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. From the moment this woman appeared, Yiqing Luo had an extremely uncomfortable feeling. It was as if there was something in the depths of the woman's soul that made her extremely disgusted. But Yiqing Luo couldn't tell what kind of feeling that was. From the conversation between the woman and Qiao Yinyan, this woman was the name she had heard the most in less than 2 hours since she arrived in the Earth domain, Princess Yu Lu, who was known as the Empyrean Fairy of Without Embroiling City. Who would have thought that Princess Yu Lu was Qiao Yinyan's second sister? In other words, this Princess Yu Lu was the second daughter of the Qiao family, Qiao Yulu. Very curious, why would she have such an uncomfortable feeling towards Qiao Yulu? Today is different from the past. Princess is now Without Embroiling City's mysterious maiden, the rules cannot be broken. Qiao Yinyan responded to Qiao Yulu's voice, interrupting Yiqing Luo's deep thoughts. Qiao Yulu didn't force Qiao Yinyan to call her second sister anymore. She only stared at Yiqing Luo. His eyes flickered with a probing look. Although this young girl looked to be in a sorry state and her face was stained with a lot of mud, she was still able to maintain her composure. But those eyes were extremely captivating. It was clear and moist, but there was a hint of flirtatious charm to it. In particular, the corners of his eyes curled upwards, giving off a hint of devilish charm. For some unknown reason, Qiao Yulu always had an intuition. If the girl's mud-covered face was washed clean, she would definitely be killed. That girl would definitely reveal a breathtakingly beautiful face. A murderous look flashed across Qiao Yulu's eyes at the thought of this. Then, she looked at Qiao Yinyan with a faint smile. Who is this girl to Big Brother? Big Sister Yu Lu, Big Brother Yinyan doesn't know that little slut at all. It was that little slut who insisted on pestering Big Brother Yinyan. She even relied on Big Brother Yinyan's power to cause trouble in the trading house. Yu Lu, Yu Ji, Yu. Yu Jiwen seemed to have found her backbone. She had someone to support her. Before Qiao Yinyan could reply, he rushed to answer. Yu Ji. Ji, Yu Yu. I, Yu Ji, Yu. You Lu. Yu Ji, Yu. What? Chapter 3491. Her voice paused slightly. Qiao Yulu continued, what kind of person should linger in that kind of place? But, her words were also stuck in her throat. Because she took the initiative to hold Xiao Yinyan's hand. But Xiao Yinyan avoided it. In front of all the citizens, he didn't give her any face at all. Just like that, he avoided her hand directly. And took a step back. Xiao Yinyan looked at the startled Xiao Yulu and said indifferently, although we are brother and sister, there is a difference between men and women. Moreover, you are without embroiling city's Miss Mysterious, your status is noble. Big brother. Xiao Yulu's face darkened slightly, a trace of displeasure flashed past her arrogant eyes. Xiao Yimian's words sounded nice. As if he was flattering her status. But Xiao Yulu understood very well. Her big brother was not willing to have too much contact with her. Since young, her relationship with her big brother wasn't too good. But fortunately, the two of them had different goals, and there was no mutual competition, so they maintained the surface brother-sister relationship until now. Xiao Yimian obviously had no intention to continue talking to Xiao Yulu. Yiqing Luo looked at Xiao Yulu, and then at the head who was sweating profusely. She pursed her lips and didn't say a word, turned around and walked directly towards the direction of the crowd. Yiqing Luo moved. Everyone's eyes shifted to her. They didn't expect that Yiqing Luo would leave just like that. Yiqing Luo's action also made Xiao Yulu inexplicably agitated. She didn't know why, but she always felt that this battered and exhausted girl would become her nemesis. It hadn't been easy for her to return to without embroiling city from the Linglong Palace, after countless hardships, with the highest honor in the Earth realm. She should have enjoyed everyone's admiration and reverence. But because of a strange girl, she was bullied in front of her big brother. But she couldn't be angry with her big brother. Xiao Yulu's heart was extremely agitated, the flickering light in her eyes was also tinged with impatience. Where are you going? Xiao Yimian actually caught up with the girl's footsteps and stretched out his hand to pull the girl's arm. Took the initiative, to pull someone else? And avoided Xiao Yulu's touch. This scene was a clear slap to Xiao Yulu's face. He was even slapped in the face by his own elder brother. Xiao Yulu's face was no longer able to maintain her arrogance as it turned ashen and dark. Yiqing Luo naturally noticed the astonished gazes of the crowd. She was quite surprised herself. She had a rough idea of Xiao Yimian's identity and personality from the surrounding citizens. However, Xiao Yimian treated her differently. Yiqing Luo didn't believe that Xiao Yimian had seen through the mud on her face and fell in love with her at first sight. Did something on her body expose her aura? Or, could it be that this Xiao Yimian knew of her identity in the Nirvana realm, and had gotten close to her for some reason? She paused and glanced sideways at Xiao Yimian. She moved her arm away to avoid his touch. Young Master Xiao, you and I don't know each other. I don't think I need to report to you where I go, right? As for his luck after arriving in the land, Yiqing Luo was already in despair. She didn't want to have anything to do with a big shot like Xiao Yimian. Especially, if she attracted the attention of the people behind the secluded palace. In the territory of the Earth domain. To her, it was extremely dangerous. Chapter 3492. You already know my name, so it's not like we don't know each other. Although I don't know your name now, but I believe you will be willing to tell me your name. Xiao Yimian's thin lips curled up as he looked at Yiqing Luo with eyes full of smiles. This was the Xiao Yimian that everyone had never seen before. Even Xiao Yulu, who had grown up with him, had never seen her elder brother treat anyone with such a pleasant expression. Yiqing Luo raised her head and looked at him calmly. I'm very curious. What is the reason why a dignified young Master Xiao would care so much about a beggar like me? Hearing Yiqing Luo's question, everyone's ears perked up. They were also very curious. What was it about this disheveled young lady that caught young Master Xiao's eyes? Say it, say it. Everyone please follow suit. Do you really want me to answer? Xiao Yimian hesitated slightly. Yiqing Luo nodded, answer. Xiao Yimian raised his eyes and his gaze swept past Xiao Yulu and finally fixed on her personal maid, Kai Dai. Kai Dai, being stared at by this gaze, couldn't help shivering. The first time I saw you, you were lying on the street and being carried by the Xiao family's old woman. The expression you looked at her with was different from the expression you showed on the surface. Kai Dai's pupils suddenly enlarged and her body went soft as she knelt heavily on the ground. Xiao Yulu's sharp gaze cut over to Kai Dai. She seemed to be questioning when did Kai Dai come into contact with Yi Qing Luo and why did she attract Xiao Yinyan's attention. Kai Dai couldn't say anything, she could only kneel on the ground, silently crying. Yi Qing Luo frowned when she heard this. Are you observing me? Xiao Yinyan explained, I just happened to see you, so I'm very curious about you and want to be friends with you. There's no other meaning. From Xiao Yinyan's eyes, Yi Qing Luo indeed didn't see any improper emotions. On the contrary, it was very clear and sincere. Lass, I feel that this young man shouldn't have any motive for you. In his mind, old man Song's voice resounded, he is the young master of the Qiao family. At such a young age, he is about to step into the spirit profound realm. He is a profound practitioner who is about to become a god. Even if he knew your identity, he would not deliberately approach you because of your identity. He paused. I don't think he's lying. Not lying? In other words, Xiao Yinyan was indeed interested in her. Was that why he wanted to be her friend? Big brother Yinyan. Yi Qing Luo had yet to respond to Xiao Yinyan. On the other side, Yu Jiwen could no longer control her emotions. She had fallen in love with Xiao Yinyan for a long time. She also saw herself as Xiao Yinyan's future wife. How could he tolerate the fact that Xiao Yinyan was interested in other women? Yu Jiwen's eyes were red as she strode forward and stretched out her hand to grab Yi Qing Luo. You vixen, you look so ugly and you dare to seduce brother Yinyan. Who do you think you are? She cried and howled as all the grievances she had towards Yi Qing Luo were all vented out. Profound energy surged and the hand which was grabbing towards Yi Qing Luo also revealed a thick murderous intent. Yu Jiwen. Xiao Yinyan's brows knitted tightly as he raised his hand and struck towards Yu Jiwen. The strength in his hand was not merciful at all. But, he had just struck. And the young lady who was attacked by Yu Jiwen had already clasped Yu Jiwen's wrist. Only to hear a kacha sound, the sound of bones breaking. Yu Jiwen screamed miserably. There was a sudden sharp pain in her abdomen. Chapter 3493. Ah. You hurt someone in front of Sister Yu Lu, you don't put her in your eyes at all. Yu Jiwen clutched her painful abdomen. He felt as if his internal organs had been broken by this kick. As she spoke, blood flowed out of her mouth. However, the anger and unwillingness in her heart made her force herself to continue speaking. Elder sister Yu Lu, that slut is relying on elder brother Yinyan's affection for her to destroy your prestige. She glanced at Kai Dai and thought of the scene where her maid quietly told her about the conflict between Kai Dai and Yi Qing Luo on the street. Which was also what Xiao Yinyan said, the scene where Yi Qing Luo attracted his attention. Yu Jiwen's eyes flashed. In Without Embroiling City, who doesn't know that today is the day when Sister Yu Lu returns to Without Embroiling City from Linglong Palace as the mysterious fairy? That slut first blocked your path, wanting to taint you with bad luck. Now, she deliberately provoked the sibling affection between you and big brother Yinyan, and even spoke rudely to you time and time again. Sister Yu Lu, that slut's target, is you. After Yu Jiwen finished these words, there was a taste of blood in her throat. She coughed violently and spat out a mouthful of blood. But her words made everyone present to look at Yi Qing Luo with a gaze filled with doubt. Especially Xiao Yulu. The cold arrogance on her face and the insufferably arrogant attitude was on the verge of collapse. Anyone could tell that Yu Jiwen deliberately wanted to provoke the enmity between her and Yi Qing Luo. And also to use her to take revenge on Yi Qing Luo. Although she knew Yu Jiwen's purpose. But Xiao Yulu's heart was still shaken. Whether what Yu Jiwen said was true or false. No matter what Yi Qing Luo's purpose was. Just based on what Yi Qing Luo had done in front of her. All these gave her enough reason to kill Yi Qing Luo. Looks like you think that I moved too lightly. Yi Qing Luo glanced at Yu Jiwen indifferently, her voice was cold and her eyes calm. Saying that, Yi Qing Luo took a slight step forward. Yu Jiwen was shocked, grabbed the maid's hand and took a few steps back. Looking at Yi Qing Luo, her gaze was full of terror. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a smile. He was covered in mud, and his face was in a sorry state. Under this smile, there was an inexplicable charm to it. The look in Xiao Yulu's eyes grew increasingly sinister. Yiqing Luo raised her eyes and her vision met Xiao Yulu's vicious gaze, as she stared straight at Xiao Yulu. There was not the slightest hint of fear in his eyes. On the contrary, he was so calm that it was as if he was looking at an ordinary person. She said, "I have no interest in you." It was just a few simple words, and his tone was cold and flat. It could be considered as a response to Yu Jiwen's complaint. But, such a response. He was obviously stirring up trouble. And it seemed to be something big. Wasn't he clearly looking down on the Empyrean fairy of Without Embroiling City, the most honorable person in the city? This girl must be crazy, right? This was the unanimous thought of the onlookers. However, under the astonished gazes of the hundreds of thousands of citizens, the young woman calmly looked at Xiao Yinyan and asked, "Other than the Zhongqing trading firm, are there any other trading firms in Without Embroiling City?" The onlookers, F***CK. F***CK. This girl was really crazy. After expressing her disdain and contempt towards Empyrean Fairy, she directly ignored her. Didn't she know that she had offended Empyrean Fairy? Chapter 3494. No, that's not right. This girl was really not afraid of offending the entire Without Embroiling City. Because Mysterious Fairy's brother was interested in this girl. Just like now. After Yiqing Luo finished her sentence, which seemed to explain Yu Jiwen's rumor, but was actually humiliating Xiao Yulu. Xiao Yinyan didn't have any reaction. Nor did he have any intention to stand up for his sister. But with a smile on his lips, he gazed at the girl and answered her question. "There are many trading houses in Without Embroiling City. I would like to see which trading house in Without Embroiling City dares to accept your order." The girl's melodious voice exuded a strong aura. Strong profound energy spread out from Xiao Yulu's body, sweeping everything in the surroundings. The entire area of Zhongqing Trading House was shrouded by this strong energy. Even the air seemed to have solidified. Among the onlookers, there were quite a number of people with lower cultivation. Immediately, they clutched their hearts, trembled and fell to the ground, suffocating. Obviously, Xiao Yulu was angry. She slightly narrowed her beautiful eyes, her red lips burning like a raging flame under her veil. "Of course, you can also choose to beg me. If I'm in a good mood, I might relent and let you cooperate with the exchange house." Xiao Yulu's tone was full of arrogance, as if she was giving alms. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laugh. Indeed, a princess who had been spoiled since young, this overweening princess disease was really not light. Hearing Yiqing Luo's laughter, Xiao Yulu's face sank, a trace of anger flashed in her eyes. "Little slut, do you know what Sister Yulu represents in Without Embroiling City? She represents the entire Without Embroiling City. It's your honor to be able to speak to Sister Yulu." Yu Jiwen, who had swallowed a pill to stabilize her internal injury, couldn't help but come out to make trouble again. With Xiao Yulu as her backing. She was full of confidence again. "If you still want to survive in Without Embroiling City, quickly kneel down and apologize to Sister Yulu." Xiao Yulu's delicate brows furrowed imperceptibly. She glanced sideways at Yu Jiwen with a trace of disgust. But she didn't interrupt Yu Jiwen's words. Instead, he displayed an arrogant attitude, raised his chin and looked at Yiqing Luo arrogantly. She was like a high and mighty queen, waiting for her subjects to submit to her. Apologize? The smile on the girl's face deepened. Her long and narrow eyes were still so bewitching. However, at this moment, there was an additional chill that caused one to feel fear. Yu Jiwen shrank back in fear at his smile. "Little girl, don't forget that this is the Earth Domain." The Earth Domain. Old Man Song's voice was filled with helplessness. "With your current strength, in the Earth realm, even though you can't be considered to be at the bottom, there are plenty of profound practitioners who can torture you to the point of asking me for help. Don't be rash." Old Man Song understood Yiqing Luo's character too well. She didn't like to make trouble. But he wasn't afraid of anything. If the other party really wanted to pester him endlessly, Yiqing Luo would definitely retaliate till the end. The Empyrean fairy of the Earth realm is no joke. This woman named Xiao Yulu is stronger than you. Moreover, I can sense that there are quite a number of Sky Profound 5th grade and above secret guards hidden in the dark. They should be sent by Exquisite Pavilion to protect Empyrean Fairy secretly. If we really fight, you won't gain any advantage, and there's a possibility that you won't be able to make it to Shadowless City to look for the Overlord. Yiqing Luo. Chapter 3495. Although she was ridiculing Old Man Song's words in her heart. But she had to admit that Old Man Song's words made sense. If they really fought, she indeed wouldn't be able to gain any advantage. Furthermore, there was a possibility that she would expose her life-saving artifact. Her war pet and divine artifact. No matter which one she took out. There was a possibility that the person behind the scenes of the Nether Palace would sense her presence and lock onto her position. In this foreign territory. One more life-saving artifact, one more guarantee. But she could only watch Xiao Yulu acting cool, and if she didn't slap her face. Her hands were really itchy. So itchy that she wanted to punch someone. Right. Apologize. Yu Jiwen saw that Yiqing Luo didn't make any movements and shouted, "Kneel down and apologize to Sister Yu Lu immediately." Following that, she turned to the 10 over people following Xiao Yulu's carriage and shouted sternly, "Quickly catch that audacious slut. Insulting Sister Yu Lu is equivalent to insulting our without embroiling city. What's more, she doesn't put Linglong Palace in her eyes. We absolutely cannot let this kind of person continue to roam freely outside." Those 10 over people were the guards that Xiao Yulu brought out from Linglong Palace. Yu Jiwen's words naturally made those guards' gazes towards Yiqing Luo, filled with a severe glare. The guards didn't take action immediately. Instead, they looked towards Xiao Yulu. Seeing that Xiao Yulu had no intention to stop them, the 10 over guards gripped their swords tightly as they surrounded Yiqing Luo. "Oh no. Lass, hurry and run." Old Man Song said anxiously, "Linglong Palace's guards have gone through layers of screening and are very powerful. Most importantly, if you retaliate, the Linglong Palace's secret guards may also strike." Yiqing Luo's fingers moved. Run? That was impossible. She would never run in this lifetime. Did she, Yiqing Luo, look like someone who would slip away? But what Old Man Song said was indeed the truth. Linglong Palace's guards, Linglong Palace's secret guards. If these two groups of people were to really start a fight, then she would definitely be at a disadvantage. She was thinking about how to solve the current predicament gently without violence. Just as the Linglong Palace's guards had surrounded her. An invisible barrier enveloped Yiqing Luo's surroundings. A slender figure stood in front of Yiqing Luo. His cold and oppressive voice intimidated everyone present. "Let me see who dares to touch her." These 6 calm words exploded like a clap of thunder. Big brother, Xiao Yulu's expression was terrible. She clenched her fists and her eyes were filled with darkness. Why? She was Xiao Yinyan's younger sister. His sister from the same father and mother. Why would he stand against her and humiliate her in front of all the citizens of the city? She had gone through untold hardships to become Without Embroiling City's Empyrean maiden. He had sacrificed so much for the Qiao family. But he was going to humiliate her on the first day she returned to Without Embroiling City after becoming the Empyrean fairy. He was going to make her, the Empyrean fairy of Without Embroiling City, unable to raise her head? Xiao Yulu's eyes reddened. However, in front of his younger sister, his usual arrogant demeanor crumbled, and his eyes reddened pitifully. Xiao Yinyan had no compassion at all. He stood in front of Yiqing Luo and did not move an inch. This matter is indeed Zhongqing Trading House's fault for judging a book by its cover. It's not this young lady's fault. Xiao Yulu clenched her fists and pursed her red lips. Young Master Xiao, you've been deceived by that woman. Wake up. This is your biological sister. How could you hurt your own sister for an unknown woman? It was because of you that Princess Yulu was humiliated by an unknown woman. Princess Yulu represents all of Without Embroiling City. That woman humiliated Princess Yulu is the same as humiliating all of us. Young Master Xiao, please step aside. That woman must be handed over to Princess Yulu. At this moment, the citizens had totally treated Xiao Yinyan as being bewitched by Yiqing Luo. Each and every one of them clamored for young Master Xiao to regain his senses. That countless accusations covered the sky and the earth. It set off wave after wave of criticism. Yiqing Luo stood on the spot with her arms crossed over her chest. She narrowed her eyes, staring at the back view in front of her. Until now, Xiao Yinyan hadn't moved a single step even when the citizens were furious. To be honest, Yiqing Luo was very curious. Even if Xiao Yinyan was interested in her. Chapter 3497. But no matter what, Xiao Yinyan had indeed suffered because of her. After all, before today, Xiao Yinyan's reputation in Without Embroiling City was genius, noble young master, and so on. No matter what Xiao Yinyan's real purpose was, it was a fact that he had helped her this point. This is Princess Yulu. Yiqing Luo walked out from behind Xiao Yinyan. She curled her lips slightly and looked languid. If you really don't want to go against your brother, you wouldn't be standing here and let the citizens angrily accuse your brother. When Yiqing Luo walked out, Xiao Yulu's hazy vision was locked on Yiqing Luo. Her burning gaze was filled with a cold chill. Her beautiful eyes were filled with murderous intent. But this didn't affect Yiqing Luo at all. Yiqing Luo still had a roguish smile on her face. If I were you, I would have chosen to turn around and leave long ago, and wouldn't become a laughing stock. She paused, raised her hand and placed it on Xiao Yinyan's shoulder, pushing him a few steps to the side. Immediately, she stood in front of Xiao Yulu. Are you sure it was me who humiliated you, and not you who put your face in front of me for me to slap? Yiqing Luo met Xiao Yulu's increasingly vicious gaze and smiled evilly. I just want to find another trading house to trade some things. Xiao Yulu's face suddenly turned black. Yes, Yiqing Luo wanted to change to another trading house. And because of her face, and because of natural hostility towards Yiqing Luo, she stopped Yiqing Luo. She just didn't expect that Xiao Yinyan would be so duty-bound to stand in front of Yiqing Luo. Quick, look. Patriarch Xiao is here. It's Patriarch Xiao. And the city lord. Isn't this a bit too big of a deal? Even the leaders of the two major factions of Without Embroiling City have come. All of a sudden, the commoners burst into shouts of surprise. Not far away, two groups of people hurriedly rushed over. At the very front was a middle-aged man in a navy blue robe. He was about 34 or 35 years old. His steps were extremely fast. He rushed to Xiao Yulu's side and looked at her nervously. After confirming that Xiao Yulu was not injured, he heaved a sigh of relief. Father. Xiao Yulu's face lit up when she saw who it was. That middle-aged man was none other than the Qiao family's patriarch, Qiao Jingming. Following closely behind him was a middle-aged man in his 40s, dressed in a bright yellow brocade robe. That should be the city lord of Without Embroiling City, Lu Qingxiang. These two people were the two largest factions in Without Embroiling City. A lord of a city. A head of an aristocratic family. These two people actually appeared here at the same time. Was it because he heard that Princess Yulu was being bullied here, so he rushed over to support her? The two great Buddhas appeared. Even with young Master Qiao's protection, that young lady would most likely not be able to escape death. What's going on? City Lord Lu looked at Xiao Yulu, then at Xiao Yinyan and Yiqing Luo. But no one said anything. "You rascal, get your ass over here." Patriarch Xiao pointed at Xiao Yinyan. "Look at you, it's not easy for your sister to come back. Why are you blocking her here?" Xiao Yinyan didn't move. Xiao Yulu pulled Patriarch Xiao's hand. "Father, don't blame Big Brother is just..." Her words paused and she didn't continue. Instead, she looked at Yiqing Luo and immediately lowered her eyes. Chapter 3498. Patriarch Xiao and City Lord Lu rushed over. Naturally, they had heard about what happened at Zhongqing Trading Hall. The first time he saw Yiqing Luo, Patriarch Xiao knew that this was the culprit who stirred up the dispute between his son and daughter. His expression sunk as he stared coldly at Yiqing Luo. "You're the one who seduced my son." "Father." Xiao Yinyan strode forward, blocking Patriarch Xiao's line of sight. "You're not even married yet and you're already helping her. If you marry her, that would be terrible. Do I still want to be the head of the family?" Patriarch Xiao's eyes widened in anger as he pointed at Yiqing Luo and said sternly, "Young lady, if you still have any sense of shame, stand out yourself, don't hide behind my son." Xiao Yinyan's handsome face was tainted with an imperceptible blush. "Father, don't talk nonsense and ruin my reputation." Patriarch Xiao shook off Xiao Yinyan's outstretched hand. Then he pushed Xiao Yinyan away and rushed in front of Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo, why did she feel that this Patriarch Xiao was the same as teacher Guiyu, an old urchin? Yiqing Luo didn't hide as she allowed Patriarch Xiao to size her up. Until Patriarch Xiao's hand stretched out towards her wrist. Yiqing Luo then took a step back. "You've seen enough and want to touch? You shameless lass." Patriarch Xiao's face turned red from Yiqing Luo's words. What did she mean by seeing enough and want to touch? Did he look like that kind of lecherous and wretched old man? "Brother Xiao." City Lord Lu walked over from behind. "Leave this matter to me. Princess Yu Lu is Without Embroiling City's mysterious maiden and I feel deeply guilty for such a thing to happen in Without Embroiling City." City Lord Lu looked refined and elegant, his every action was filled with the elegance of a superior. When City Lord Lu walked over, Patriarch Xiao directly blocked in front of him. "This is my family's matter, of course I will settle it myself." "Brother Xiao, what are you saying?" City Lord Lu's expression froze, but he quickly put on a smile. "Princess Yu Lu is the Empyrean lady of Without Embroiling City. Her matters are Without Embroiling City's matters. As the city lord, I must take responsibility for this matter." Patriarch Xiao frowned and glanced at City Lord Lu impatiently. He couldn't be bothered to bother about him as he looked towards Yiqing Luo. "Little lass, since it's because of you, it caused my son and daughter to go against each other, I must bring you back to the Qiao family to teach you a lesson. Follow me now." Saying that, he pulled Yiqing Luo's wrist, forcefully dragging her away. Xiao Yinyan, who was at the side, reached out to stop Qiao family head's hand. "Father." His tone was rather helpless. "Stop messing around. This young lady only wanted to find a trading firm to cooperate with. Everything else was caused by Third Miss Yu and Princess Yu Lu. It wasn't her fault. Even now, it's still Miss calling me Miss." He didn't even know his name. "What's the use of having you?" Patriarch Xiao stared at Xiao Yinyan and then stared at Yiqing Luo. "What's your name?" Yiqing Luo, had she sensed wrongly? Why did she feel that Patriarch Xiao seemed to have misunderstood something? She was about to open her mouth. But she heard Xiao Yu Lu's anxious call, "Father." Apparently, Xiao Yu Lu had also sensed that something was amiss as she walked over in quick steps. Chapter 3499. It's understandable that Zhongcheng would detain her outside. After all, no one can guarantee that she entered the exchange hall to steal from customers or to cooperate with them. Xiao Yulu's expression was filled with arrogance and ridicule. Right. That's what First Master said earlier. Yu Jiwen finally found a chance to step on Yiqing Luo. Even Sister Yu Lu thinks so. That slut must be trying to steal from the exchange hall. Not letting her into the exchange hall is to ensure the safety of the other customers' crystals. Xiao Yulu totally didn't believe that Yiqing Luo had anything that could cooperate with the exchange hall. If she really had, then she wouldn't be in such a sorry state. As though she saw the ridicule in Xiao Yulu's eyes, Yiqing Luo smiled calmly, totally not bothered about their comments. I haven't even entered the exchange hall. How do you know that I don't have anything that can cooperate with them? What good stuff can you have with your poor look? Even if you have, it must be stolen from others. Yu Jiwen snorted coldly. Hurry up and hand it over. Hand over what you stole from others. With Sister Yu Lu around, no exchange hall in the entire without embroiling city will dare to cooperate with you. Under the veil, Xiao Yulu's eyes curved slightly. Her narrowed eyes looked a little cold. Apparently, she tacitly agreed to Yu Jiwen's compliment. TSK, Yiqing Luo clicked her tongue. This Yu Jiwen was brainless. Even Xiao Yulu, the mysterious fairy, was brainless? Was it really good to be so arrogant in front of the city lord? Although it was true that no exchange hall in the entire without embroiling city dared to cooperate with her. But to say it in front of City Lord Lu. Wasn't it indirectly telling City Lord Lu, your status in without embroiling city is not as good as Princess Yu Lu? This was simply the last bottom line of a person in power. The key was that Xiao Yulu had a, indeed so, expression. This was because she was used to being on top. In her eyes, even the city lord of without embroiling city was not in her eyes? Just at this moment, suddenly a low, uncertain voice rang from the crowd, Our exchange hall is willing to cooperate with Miss. That voice was very soft. But in this tense atmosphere. But it was clearly transmitted into everyone's ears. Everyone was startled and thought they had heard wrongly. Even Yiqing Luo was stunned for a moment. There's actually a trading house that wants to work with the woman who offended Princess Yu Lu? Are you tired of living? Isn't this disrespecting Princess Yu Lu? Which trading firm is so stupid? Everyone discussed among themselves as they searched for the source of the sound. Soon, the crowd of onlookers parted to form a path. He saw a young man in his 20s standing at the back of the crowd. He clasped his hands together and stood there awkwardly. Their hands, which were intertwined, kept stirring. His face was filled with suppressed fear. When he felt that everyone's eyes were fixed on him, he felt a chill run down his spine. He felt even more uneasy. But his back was very straight. After seeing the man's face, the receptionist from the Sincerity Trading House sneered, Isn't this the boss of the Treasures Trading House, Pei Sheng? What, you want to go against the Zhongqing trading firm? Treasure Exchange Hall? What is that place? You haven't even heard of the Treasure Exchange Hall? The Treasure Exchange Hall that cheated customers with fake goods at the auction 5 years ago? Chapter 3500. I still remember that it was that kid's father who bragged about that treasure to the point of being miraculous, and it caused all of Without Embroiling City to be discussing the treasure of their treasure-gathering hall before the auction even began. What treasure? Is it that sensational? What's with you guys talking about deceiving the customers? You guys don't know how big of a commotion this matter was that year. During the auction, the treasure was quoted at a sky-high price and it was successfully bid by a nameless lad. But that nameless lad had not even gotten the treasure when he was exposed. That lad was the nephew of the master of the treasure exchange. The most ridiculous thing was that the treasure had been inspected on the spot and it was actually a piece of useless stone with a little spiritual chi. Their own people bidding for their own treasures? What's the benefit of doing so? One must know that the transaction fee for the auction is 5% of the transaction amount. Still using the useless stone as a treasure, is he in a hurry to give away the crystals for the auction? Don't forget, what conditions must be fulfilled to obtain the title of the best exchange in Without Embroiling City? For a moment, the onlookers began to discuss spiritedly. Someone thought for a while before saying loudly, in the auction. The exchange house with the most crystals will be awarded the title of the best exchange house. Instantly, the crowd went into an uproar. In other words, in order to be awarded the title of the best exchange house, Treasures Exchange boasted about a fake treasure and bought that treasure back at a sky-high price. In this way, Treasures Exchange only needed to pay the auction's transaction fee to obtain the title of the best exchange house. With this title, it was only a matter of time before those transaction fees were earned back. The most important thing in an exchange house was credibility and reputation. The surrounding people's discussions made the young man's face flush red. Especially his pair of eyes, which were bloodshot red. The veins on his forehead popped out as his hands clenched into fists. As though he was suppressing the anger in his heart. He didn't refute the surrounding people's words but used his reddened eyes to look at Yi-Ching Luo as he said word by word, "Our exchange house is willing to cooperate with you. As long as you have something to trade with us, we will definitely pay you enough crystals." That straight back, that stubborn gaze. It made Yi-Ching Luo inexplicably thought of those brothers in Nirvana realm. A light flashed in her charming eyes. Pay crystal stones? Boss Pei, you haven't had much business in the past 5 years, right? How are you going to pay her? Also, after the grand auction, the treasure-gathering exchange that has been trading crystal stones at the bottom for 5 years in a row, your reputation will be taken down. In the past 5 years, there have been no customers coming in or out of the treasures exchange house. This kid is already at the end of his rope, so whenever he sees someone who wants to cooperate with the exchange house, he impatiently rushes out. Ha ha ha. A beggar in a trading house that is about to close down, what a perfect match. The discussions of the citizens became more and more unbearable. The mocking words were like a mountain, about to crush the young man's shoulders. The young man's eyes were red and his face was filled with grief and indignation. The suppressed anger in his eyes flowed continuously. But he clenched his fists tightly, suppressing the rage in him as he stubbornly looked at Yi-Ching Luo. You want to cooperate with me? Yi-Ching Luo slowly walked towards that young man. Pei Xing clenched his fists, his eyes filled with determination. Yes. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.